Mark. So thank you for taking the time today. Really excited to get your feedback and hoping if you could start off just to introduce yourself and your company and what you've been working on for the last few years.
Absolutely. So my name is Mark Kozlowski. I'm the CEO of Upped Events, which is an all-in-one software as a service event company. We essentially aggregate a lot of the common features that normally event owners would go and get separate subscriptions for. We put it all under one package and try to give them back a better price than they would receive just from a ticketing company like Eventbrite.
So can you tell me about the challenges that you were facing before we started working together?
So Upped Events, because we have invested a fairly significant amount of our investors' money in the software itself, we had a big product to build. We were building ticketing, we were building a point of sale system, we were building a full CRM, as well as forms to bring in partners and sponsors and collect payments, a full app with map and schedule, a whole lot of development work. And as a result, we put a lot of money into the software to get the product to where it was able to perform with very large, complex events. 30, 40, 50,000 person events with point of sale transactions, ticketing, and a lot of other things. That's where we put our money. And we've also been putting our money over the last number of years into individual outreach with business development representatives, which were yielding results, but they were yielding results at a very linear rate. And something that over the last, let's say, 12 to 16 months, we realized was not going to cut it to reach the revenue goals that we had hoped for. We were looking to raise money at our company. We were looking to find strategic partners that might be willing to create a partnership with us to increase our revenues. We were looking at potential acquirers who might be interested in our technology or our team and essentially absorbing us so that we could apply our fantastic product to a larger sales pipeline or a larger customer base, depending upon how many clients they had. So that was what we ended up working on. We ended up doing a rapid reach out campaign to try to find investors as well as potential acquirers and strategic partners. Our challenges were that we didn't know how to reach enough people around the world fast enough to understand our options as a company when we were looking to entertain acquisitions or potential partnerships. We wanted to make sure that we made the right choice. And the only way that I can imagine how to do that was to evaluate all of our options. And that meant some type of a mass contacting campaign that would contact everybody we needed quickly so that I could speak with them each and evaluate what options we had available to us.
And yeah, can you tell me a little bit about what exactly I did for you and like how I supported Upped Events?
Absolutely. So, what John worked on with us was to try to understand how we could approach different groups of people, potential investors, and another group was potential strategic partners or acquirers, which could include competitors. So, we had two separate campaigns trying to accomplish each of those goals. And we essentially worked with John to figure out what filters would increase the approach success that we were doing in our different campaigns, as well as evaluating the messaging that we would be doing and the timeline of the reach out to make sure that it was fitting within our business's strategic timelines and goals. And he set up the technological infrastructure with him and his partners, essentially helping us set up all of the different domains, all of the different email accounts that were made for those domains, the software that would be used to send out all of the emails, as well as enrich them with AI, as well as various pieces of information that we weren't able to get from the original lead acquisition process, and essentially creating the campaigns for us, walking us through how we could understand the success metrics of the campaign and how we could deal with various responses and response differences, how we could clean up the campaigns to make sure that we didn't have a lot of riffraff in there, as well as how to make it a bit easier for us to see that the replies were coming in by setting up a webhook into Slack so that we, in our daily motions, could be evaluating what responses were coming in without really creating a whole new work pipeline for us.
I was wondering if you could also touch on how working together has impacted your business so far, like in the short term and the mid to long term.
One of the interesting things with the campaign that we were literally reaching out to competitors and strategic partners and investors who had invested in the industry before and who had invested in past competitors who have gotten acquired. We were reaching out to all of the relevant parties in the industry. We're touching all of these different entities and we're understanding the industry and telling them about us and hearing about them. And generally that has made me more informed. So one of the side fringe benefits aside from just being able to meet with all of the acquirers or investors or strategic partners that are in the industry, was them meeting me and seeing me and understanding what my company was and thinking about how maybe there could be beneficial, some way for us to work or provide value to each other. And either way, it was a discussion. I was able to learn about those companies and maybe better strategically place my company in the future when it came to pricing or client reach out.
Yeah, speaking on that, can you tell me about the specific results from the campaign that you can share? I know, like on the investor campaigns, I think we got a total of over 70 leads on that one, and then on the strategic partnerships, I think it was 46 or 47 interested leads. So if you can tell me about like the number of leads and then meetings and discussions, any specific outcomes that you can share there.
Yeah. I was fortunate to run 3 to 4 different campaigns. Some of them, as you said, were directed at investors, some at partnerships. And with the investors, we reached out to something like 2,100 to maybe 3,000 or so investors, let's say. And we had an average of at least 50 to 70% open rate, which is fantastic. On the investors, we had a significantly higher reply rate with, up and above 30 and 36%. And in terms of positive replies, they were up and over 35 and 25% for the investor campaigns. And on the strategic partnership campaigns, positive replies up and above 50%. So when I was out there telling competitors about us and that I wanted to meet, they were positively replying almost 50% of the time after opening 60% of our emails. And when we went out for investment, people opened something like 65 to 85% of the emails we sent out to investors. And of those people that we sent it out to, we had something like 35 to 30% average positive reply. So we got a significant amount of people, as you said, 70 or so from the investor campaign and maybe 50 or so from the strategic partnership campaign.
Yeah, I think it was interesting to see the lead rate, because normally when we're looking at and lead rate defined as the number of leads that we have to add into a campaign to generate one positive reply. When I look at campaigns in different industries, I've seen everything from 50 to 1, meaning every 50 leads we add, we get one interested reply, and then a certain percentage of those convert to calls, all the way up on the high end to where a campaign really isn't working because it's bad segment or poor targeting or poor messaging, where it's like 4,000 to 1. And then those are obviously segments that we don't want to work with. The benchmark that I've heard from other people is 350 to 400 to 1 is kind of the benchmark right now. And so it was interesting that with your campaigns, I think because of the nature of what you were selling, right? Like an investment, it's potentially by a company, it was very interesting. And it's very, very high level stuff that I think is attractive to founders and CEOs of these other companies, and also to investors, obviously. I think the lead rate, depending on which campaign I was looking at, it was between 14 to 1 and 20 to 1. So it was just a really, really high performance. And so a wrap up question here, what would you say to other companies or other founders who are thinking about working with us?
There's no question that the service is valuable. And what's cool about the service is that it was done in close proximity and close access to somebody that knew what they were doing. And that meant that it was like bowling with the bumpers on, marketing seems intimidating. Reach out seems intimidating. But when you have somebody that goes through the process very frequently, has benchmarks that help you understand at each step of the process how successful you are as compared to other people that he has for certain seen before, it becomes something that is not as intimidating. It is approachable. There's a price to it, but there's a price to any type of marketing, reach out, or consultation that you would get. And when you're learning about how to do it and you're understanding what those benchmarks and thresholds are for your business, you find yourself able to apply that knowledge to other domains and other conversations and other strategic points of focus within your company. You're learning about your customer, you're learning about your industry. So the process has a number of primary benefits, but also seemingly ancillary or secondary benefits that make it more than worth the price. It's a process of self-identification. It's a process of testing things out. There's a lot of benefits to the process, and it's something that I didn't know beforehand. The tech stack is not something I would have put together myself. There's something about being on the leading edge of the technology there. And I do believe that you are on that leading edge, because I've heard of a lot of other sales pitches from other people. It's much more sophisticated than other ones that I've seen. So staying at the leading edge, using technology to have a beneficial outcome, and having somebody to work with you through it so that it's very clear to you. Those are things that I haven't found anywhere else. So I'd say it was a unique experience, which has been positive almost across the board. Having somebody who's seen all those different experiences and can interpret them and explain what they actually mean to you is something that can presumably have a pretty high price on it. This price was perfectly acceptable for us to digest.
Thanks, Mark. Would you recommend me to a friend or family member? NPS question.
I would. John and I talked for weeks or months before I even contracted with him, because he was kind in helping me understand my situation and maybe how he could help. When we went through the process of defining what it was that I needed, he was very flexible with me and working on timing and working on different hours. No matter what, I know that John's willing to give his time to help someone. I feel very comfortable that they would be in good hands and would have somebody honest directing them.
Thank you, Mark. You're too kind. It's greatly appreciated that you took the time with me today. And yep, excited to see what comes next.
Me too. Thank you for all your help.
All right. Thank you.